Liverpool lineups for Galatasaray as Ibrahima Konate decision made after nightmare. Trent Alexander-Arnold injury twist revealed before Liverpool return after Real Madrid decision. Jamie Carragher reveals the Liverpool star who can unlock Florian Wirtz's true ability. Now let's hear the details. Liverpool lineups for Galatasaray as Ibrahima Konate decision made after nightmare. Liverpool would have been desperate to get back to action after the misery of Saturday's defeat to Crystal Palace. But a trip to face Galatasaray in Istanbul surely won't have been top of their wishlist for their next fixture. The Reds are in Turkey seeking to make it 2 wins from 2 in the Champions League this season following the late win over Atletico Madrid on the competition's opening night, and Arne Slot has plenty of selection posers to consider ahead of the contest. What will he decide to do though? Our writers have given him some friendly advice ahead of the contest. Ian Doyle. The Champions League. The biggest club competition in the world. But at this stage of the season, not even the second biggest game of the week for Liverpool. What, then, is Reds boss Arne Slot to do against Galatasaray in Istanbul this evening? There will be changes. And there should be, too. Not in goal, though. That's Alisson Becker. It was tempting to bring in Joe Gomez at centre-back, but he had a nightmare up against Victor Osimhen a few years ago and that risk can't be taken again, so Ibrahima Konate remains alongside skipper Virgil van Dijk. I'd stick with Connor Bradley at right-back, but Andy Robertson should come in at left-back. In midfield, Alexis Mac Allister still isn't right, so he can be benched in place of Dominik Szoboszlai, who can join Ryan Gravenberch at the base of the midfield. Florian Wirtz is the number 10. Up front, Hugo Ekitike returns as the central striker with Cody Gakpo coming back in on the left and Mohamed Salah staying on the right. Paul Gorst. It will be interesting to see what Arne Slot does at fullback this evening. I suspect he might keep one and replace one from Saturday's defeat at Crystal Palace, with Connor Bradley keeping his place and Milos Kerkez making way for Andy Robertson. In midfield, I think Slot might keep Dominik Szoboszlai in the team and move Alexis Mac Allister to the substitutes bench to accommodate Florian Wirtz back into the most advanced role. Cody Gakpo comes in on the left-hand side once more up top. Hugo Ekitike can start in place of Alexander Isak, with the Sweden international still building up his fitness. It wasn't the plan to play nearly the full 90 minutes at Crystal Palace. Theo Squires. Liverpool will be looking to bounce back quickly against Galatasaray after their stoppage time loss to Crystal Palace, and they could really do with an improved defensive display at the very least. The Reds have not been at their best at the back so far this season, so, with that in mind, I'm opting for a sense of familiarity. Connor Bradley keeps his place at right back, despite being withdrawn at halftime against the Eagles, with Andy Robertson returning at left back. Meanwhile, Joe Gomez can come in at centre-back to partner Virgil van Dijk in place of the out-of-sorts Ibrahima Konate. Jeremy Frimpong and Milos Kerkez are still adjusting to their new surroundings after their summer transfers, so let's see how a back four with plenty more experience playing alongside each other fares instead. In midfield, Dominik Szoboszlai starts at number 8 alongside Ryan Gravenberch. Alexis Mac Allister is still not up to speed after his lengthy summer layoff, so he drops to the bench. Florian Wirtz is unleashed at number 10, with Cody Gakpo returning on the left, though I would have been tempted to start Federico Chiesa had he been included in the travelling squad. And Hugo Ekitike returns in attack after serving his one-game suspension, with Alexander Isak back on the bench after completing 84 minutes against Palace as Liverpool continue to manage the Swede carefully. Mark Jones. You're now met with 2 enormous images of Ibrahima Konate when you emerge from Lime Street, with the words "Be the problem" emblazoned alongside the Liverpool defender who had an interesting afternoon at Crystal Palace. Some jokes really do write themselves. Despite those difficulties though, I've got a feeling Arne Slot will stick with the Frenchman in Istanbul. He loves a redemption story and Konate is currently the man in possession of the shirt, with Joe Gomez not entirely convincing against Southampton last week. While the centre-backs may stay the same, I'd be making changes at full-back, with Andy Robertson coming in to start just as he did in the Champions League opener against Atletico Madrid, and I'd make Dominik Szoboszlai return to right-back as I'd expect the Reds to have plenty of time on the ball. In midfield, I'd like to get a rest into Alexis Mac Allister, and so Curtis Jones gets a start alongside Ryan Gravenberch, with Mac Allister available from the bench to perhaps come on for Florian Wirtz, as Jeremy Frimpong acts as attacking cover for Mo Salah. The Egyptian will start of course, while Cody Gakpo and Hugo Ekitike should return to the 11 as Alexander Isak gets the last half hour. Trent Alexander-Arnold injury twist revealed before Liverpool return after Real Madrid decision. Trent Alexander-Arnold is expected to have fully recovered from a hamstring injury after the upcoming international break. The former Liverpool vice-captain was said to be facing 6 weeks on the sidelines after sustaining the setback earlier this month. There were also fears that Real Madrid could be without the player for 8 weeks, which would have meant missing a first return to Anfield with the Spanish club. However, it now appears that Alexander-Arnold will return within a month of suffering the injury. Coming back in that timeframe was the most optimistic timeline after their disappointing start in their first Champions League match against Marseille, but it is now reportedly the expectation. That would mean the right back could play at Anfield after all. Madrid-based sports newspaper Marca claims the expectation is for Alexander-Arnold to be fully recovered after the international break. The publication, however, reports that head coach Xabi Alonso has promoted David Jimenez to the first team in the meantime. He was on the bench for La Liga matches against Espanyol and Levante, but remained an unused substitute. The 21-year-old predominantly plays for Castilla, the club's reserve team, as he did last weekend, instead of being involved in the Madrid derby against Atletico. Alonso, however, is said to have full confidence in Jimenez if the need to play him arises. Marca claims the youngster has convinced his coach and describes him as the chosen one to secure further a position that has been left uncovered. Federico Valverde and Raul Asensio have played there so far this season, with Dani Carvajal injured again after only recovering from a serious knee injury over the summer. This time, it is his calf, and it is said to be sidelining him for 5 weeks. So, if neither Alexander-Arnold nor the Spaniard recovers in time, Jimenez could be playing at Anfield. Trent Alexander-Arnold was initially expected to be out for 6 weeks after suffering a hamstring injury earlier this month, but the Real Madrid star is set to return sooner. Trent Alexander-Arnold is set to make a swift recovery from his hamstring injury, with the Liverpool star expected to be back in action after the upcoming international break. The former vice-captain of the Reds was initially predicted to be out for 6 weeks following the injury he sustained earlier this month. There were concerns that Real Madrid would have to do without its player for 8 weeks, which would have meant missing a much-anticipated return to Anfield in the Champions League with the Spanish team. However, it now seems that England international Alexander-Arnold will be back on the pitch within a month of his injury. This quick recovery was the best-case scenario after Madrid's poor start in its opening Champions League game against Marseille, but it is now reportedly the anticipated outcome. This means the right back could indeed feature at Anfield. Alexander-Arnold is likely to get a frosty reception at Anfield after running down his contract and forcing a move through to Madrid, one of Liverpool's biggest European rivals. Madrid-based sports newspaper Marca reports that Alexander-Arnold is expected to be fully fit after the international break. In the meantime, the paper reveals that head coach Xabi Alonso has promoted David Jimenez to the first team. Jimenez was on the bench for La Liga matches against Espanyol and Levante, but did not get any game time. The 21-year-old usually plays for Castilla, the club's reserve team, as he did last weekend, instead of participating in the derby against Atletico Madrid. However, Alonso is reported to have full faith in Jimenez should the need arise for him to play. Marca has described the young player as the chosen one to secure further a position that has been left uncovered, indicating that he has won over his coach. Federico Valverde and Raul Asensio have filled the role so far this season, with Dani Carvajal once again sidelined due to injury after just recovering from a serious knee issue over the summer. This time, it's his calf that's causing problems, and it's expected to keep him out of action for 5 weeks. Therefore, if neither Alexander-Arnold nor the Spaniard recovers in time, Jimenez could find himself playing at Anfield. Jamie Carragher reveals the Liverpool star who can unlock Florian Wirtz's true ability. Alexis Mac Allister's slow start to the season has not helped Florian Wirtz enjoy a successful beginning to life in the Premier League, according to Jamie Carragher. The former Liverpool defender believes the club must do more to help the Germany star find his best form. Wirtz arrived at Anfield during the summer transfer window for a then British record fee from Bayern Leverkusen. Alexander Isak's move to Liverpool then surpassed the £116 million figure, but there was no shortage of anticipation over the 22-year-old's arrival. The playmaker has yet to find the net or provide an assist in the Premier League, with his last goal contribution coming in the Community Shield defeat to Crystal Palace. Wirtz has not completely settled into the division, despite the Reds topping the table. While the ex-Leverkusen star is having his own struggles, he has not always been found by his teammates either. Wirtz averages 64 touches per match with Liverpool, compared to 87 touches per match in 2024-25 and 92 in 2023-24. And 2005 Champions League winner Carragher believes Wirtz's struggles are clear to see. But the attacking star also requires help early in his Premier League career. Speaking on Monday Night Football, Carragher said, "I think we should be analyzing someone who cost that money. He has come in as a renowned star, Bundesliga Player of the Year 2 seasons running, won the Bundesliga, season international with Germany. I think it's fair to say he hasn't been great for Liverpool so far, but also I don't think Liverpool have been great for him so far. They have to come together and try to make things work as best as they possibly can. Liverpool have got to do more for him also, as he's not getting the ball anywhere near as often as before. He has found it tough. Newcastle away was always going to be a baptism of fire in that left-half position, but you're coming up against that midfield, I can understand that. Against Burnley is where I thought we might see him at his best, he did okay. This is happening quite a bit where he's trying to get his shots off and people are just on top of him a little bit quicker. We know the standards of the Premier League are better than the Bundesliga. It's probably quicker. He's not being allowed to get his shots off. In this situation, it's faster, people are on top of him more, it's more physical, he's a young boy, trying to meet the demands of the league, there's no doubt about that." And Carragher believes Mac Allister reaching his best form would only help his teammate. "I think another problem for Liverpool and for Wirtz is that Mac Allister hasn't been at his best," he said. "I think he's the guy who could feed him and get him the ball between the lines.